You know the exact feeling. You decide this is the year you finally write the book, build the business, or get in shape. And the very first thing you do is tell people. You sit at a dinner table, tap your glass, and announce your grand plan. Your friends lean in. Someone offers a toast. They tell you how great this is, how you were always meant to do this. A warm, heavy sense of satisfaction settles in your chest. You drive home feeling light, carrying what feels like unstoppable momentum. We are taught that telling people locks us in. We call it accountability. But that good feeling is actually a trap. A week later, that fire you felt is entirely gone, and the goal is already fading. Take a guy we'll call Daniel. He tells his oldest friends about his novel over coffee, absorbs their praise, and goes to sleep feeling like a writer. But the next morning, when the blank page is waiting, he feels absolutely zero pull to actually write a single word. He already got the reward. His brain processed the applause from the night before as payment, and he spent it before earning a single cent of it through actual work. By announcing his plan out loud, Daniel cashed out his drive. He took the small, fragile amount of motivation required to write a book and spent it entirely on the brief feeling of being seen as an author. This warmth Daniel felt has a laboratory attached to it. In 2009, psychologist Peter Gollwitzer gathered people with personal goals and divided them into two groups. Half announced their commitments out loud. The other half kept their goals to themselves. Both groups were given 45 minutes to work. The silent group worked the entire 45 minutes. The loud group stopped after just 33 minutes. The louder group quit 12 minutes earlier. But when the researchers asked them how they felt, the people who stopped early reported feeling much closer to having achieved their goals than the silent group did. Gollwitzer called this psychological glitch social reality. When you state who you intend to become, and another person nods and acknowledges it, your mind quietly files the identity as achieved. The hunger that drives you to a difficult task is the hunger to become a certain kind of person. If your brain believes you are already recognized as that person, it cuts off the fuel supply. A fed man simply does not hunt. This is an old flaw. Back in 1926, social psychologist Kurt Lewin observed what he called a substitution effect, and a few years later, researcher Vera Mahler found that an intention acknowledged by others starts to feel almost as real in the mind as physical action. But those early psychologists were studying people in physical rooms. Today, you carry a device in your pocket that is perfectly engineered to trigger this flaw without you ever having to stand up. You no longer have to wait for a dinner party to announce your goal to 12 friends. You can broadcast your new identity to 500 people before breakfast, collecting an entire evening's worth of validation in 90 seconds while lying in bed. And here is the cruelest detail buried in the data. This motivation drain does not hit everyone equally. The people who barely cared about their goals were mostly unaffected. It was the strongly committed individuals, the ones who wanted it the most, who lost the most drive after speaking. The more a goal matters to you, the more expensive it is to announce. In a world optimized for instant broadcasting, the dreams you would give years for are exactly the ones you are most likely to destroy with a single post. If the applause is a trap, you have to separate two things you usually jam together: the intention, which is the person you want to be, and the act, which is the physical work you must do today. The Stoics understood this without a single lab experiment. Epictetus warned his students not to stand in the marketplace explaining their philosophy, but to quietly embody it in private. When his students wanted to brag about their progress, he used an image they never forgot. He said, "A sheep does not vomit up the grass to show the shepherds how much it has eaten. It digests the grass inward, and it produces wool." Your intentions need to be kept in a tightly closed hand. You digest the ambition in the dark, and you let your completed actions, and only your completed actions, show themselves. Show the wool, not the grass. True discipline requires rejecting the vanity of performing your potential for an audience. It asks you to choose the silent, entirely unglamorous dignity of actually doing the work. The practical tool for this is what Gollwitzer called an implementation intention. Instead of making a grand public announcement, you set a private if-then trigger. You do not say, "I will get in shape." You say, "When I wake up, before I touch my phone, I put on my shoes and walk out the door." If you must involve another person, share strictly completed repetitions, not future plans. Texting a friend, 50 push-ups done, your turn, is not a toast, it is a scoreboard. It buys you a witness to the actual work, rather than a cheerleader for your dream. So tomorrow, before the phone lights up your brain with everyone else's life, you sit down and you run the quiet machinery of your goal. You write the terrible paragraph, or you lift the weight, while the room is empty and no one is clapping. When you announce your goals, you are just building an image in other people's heads, a reputation that can be revoked the moment you fail. But when you stay silent and do the work, you mint private, undeniable evidence that you keep your word to yourself. Stop narrating the person you intend to become. Choose one small act today. Do it, and tell absolutely no one. Let the silence hold the promise your voice keeps breaking, and let that undeniable proof be the only thing that speaks for you.